Hello and thank you for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakum. Today on the program, can Sultan and others lament that insecurity is threatening 2023 elections as 80 victims of plateau attacks get mass burial? And later on the show, ASU meets federal government, says no resumption until demands are met. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Chiawo Lamoke Wankwo. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Let's begin with the economy. Nigeria's top first-generation banks are revising banking hours across the country. The revised operations hours became necessary as the price of diesel in Nigeria has jumped from 312 naira per litre in January to 800 naira per litre in March. Broadcast stations are similarly reducing transmission hours. Jide, this is a big embarrassment.
It's just terrible. It's terrible. Some were buying diesel at 225 naira per litre in January, and now it's about 800. Between 750 to 800 naira per litre. It
difficult
depends
to budget.
Yes.
Let's say you projected that you are
really
that you are going to be buying 200 naira for January to December.
And you know what has worsened matters is the fact that probably at no time in the history of our country has electricity supply been as bad as it is now. We are experiencing recurrent system failure. Within 3 weeks, we had 2 system failures. I mean, that's just too bad. What do we mean by system failure? It's a situation in which you have blackout in every corner of the country at the same time.
And Mr. President is keeping that minister, looking at that minister, that somebody is competent. If you are said to be competent, system failure, blackouts, back to back.
Back to back. If you cannot address it, why don't you get someone else who can address it? It's a massive shame that we are going through all of this, but it is also worsening poverty in our nation. It is causing unemployment because businesses are folding up.
Yes,
they are sending people back into the unemployment market because of this power situation.
Yes.
SMEs are the engines of growth, but they need power supply. The person whose business is simply to cut people's hair, how does he cut your hair when he does not have access to power supply? You know? So it is such a terrible thing.
It's so hot.
This is the worst time to even face poor electricity, because how do you get around it? Broadcast stations, it's not just banks. One bank decided, okay, let us reduce our operating hours from 6 p.m. to 4 p.m. I mean, from 6 p.m. to 4 p.m. just so that they can say, I mean, how many people do you know? For some broadcast stations in our country, do you know that they spend up to 700,000 in a day on diesel alone?
Wow.
Yes.
Because they have to run for 24
hours. How do you do it? Just do the calculation. It depends on the size of your business.
So where do you make your money?
So
if you are running 700,000 on diesel.
So where would the money come from? When what normally should be your profit gets spent on
overhead.
Just diesel alone, on fueling your generators alone. If we had constant electricity supply, people won't even need to use their generators.
At all.
As I've said before, some of the people who in the past, because in the little corner where their houses are located, they have electricity more than other people who have been deceiving themselves that, look, we have constant electricity. They are among the people who are complaining the most now. I have a friend who has not had electricity for 5 days and is now saying, look, this thing is affecting me too. I said, but you used to boast. And I used to tell you that the illiterate way of assessing whether electricity has improved is simply to look at your own
situation.
What is the quantum of electricity generated? You first find that out. What is the quantum of electricity transmitted? You will find out. What is the quantum distributed? It's a relay. It is when you have done your survey and discovered the extent of electricity, the quantum of electricity distributed, that is when you can know whether there's improvement. If we are doing just 3,500 megawatts on the average, That cannot be progress. That cannot be improvement. When South Africa, that depends largely on coal, is doing on the average 42,000 megawatts a day.
Shawuki, this is not good enough, because I just looked at somebody and the person was talking about, that this is hell already, because if you don't have a power supply and you can't afford to buy diesel, you can't afford to fill your generating set throughout the night, and some people they sleep outside now.
Of course, many people like myself sleep on the floor.
Because you can't afford to just stay on that bed.
I sleep on the floor from night till dawn to make sure I have a sound sleep. Look, this thing has become a topical issue because a giant in First Bank is now feeling.
Yes, First Bank is just, if First Bank is down, the country is down.
So if First Bank could feel the pulse of what is happening.
They are not the only ones.
Yes, I know. Then you can then imagine what is happening in the larger, sector of our economy. Like Jide pointed out, without SMEs, the GDP of any nation cannot grow. This matter speaks to the way we've mismanaged our petroleum economy. Because if the diesel is being refined in Nigeria here, I don't think the situation would have gotten to this level. It's just because it's an imported product. And you ask yourself, why should it be so? For how many decades is Nigeria going to endure this? A country that produces crude
in abundance
now goes outside to import the finished products, whether it is diesel or PMS or whatever, from countries that don't even have oil.
Yes. Yes.
Countries that do not produce any crude. All the people who have been involved in the management of the nation's affairs should hide their faces in shame. It didn't start today. It has been on for more than 2 decades.
Yes.
We have refineries here that cannot be fixed. This is not how to run a nation. When Ghana discovered oil, Nigeria was taken as a specimen for them to study how not to run an oil economy. It is as bad as that.
It's like a cost to us.
Yes, and we've continued to move along that lane as if nothing is happening. It's a big shame.
Jide, I thought that sector is said to have been deregulated some years back when they told us that, diesel, that the market force would determine the price and everything. So is this the product of deregulation? And
deregulation means that, government will no longer fix prices for you. Prices will be determined by market forces and all that. But because we do not refine here, and because oil prices have gone up, diesel is a byproduct of crude oil. So because oil prices have gone up as a result of Putin's needless war in Ukraine, now you have to endure the fact that the price has gone up significantly. Don't also forget even the value of our currency is a factor, because all of these things are bought in foreign currency denominated. So it is a product of the subsisting global oil prices. If it goes to $600 per liter, we will be in trouble here, because by the time you add landing cost, refining cost, and all that, that's the price of crude will be a lot lower than that of diesel, because you have to pay for the refining, then the landing cost, the cost of freighting it to our country. Once everything is put together, it becomes very high. That's what we are grappling with. Yeah. But if we were refining here, and at a point we were refining here, if we were refining here, there is no way to be that high. All of those aggregated costs will not be there. Like landing costs and the rest will not be there because you refine here in your country. Yes. So to not fix our refinery is a massive, massive, massive betrayal of the trust of our people. Because now our people are now made to suffer more because successive leadership in our country refuse to do what is right. And for a nation that produces as much crude oil as we are producing, it is unheard of that we are now using our own money, our resources to boost the economies of other lands. That's what we are doing.
Great job for that.
Moving on now, the country is reeling from the horror of the ill-fated Abuja-Kaduna train of 28th of March. In its updates, a week after the attack, the Nigerian Railway Corporation, NRC, said it could not account for 146 passengers. Meanwhile, the managing director of the Bank of Agriculture, Awan Hassan, who was released by the group last Wednesday, provided figures of the captive while recounting his ordeal. 41 women, 22 men, and 5 children are in captivity. It's a very, very unfortunate situation that weeks after this horror incident happened, that we still cannot account, we don't know the actual figure of those people that are missing. We don't have database, and some people at the end of the day might not be accounted for at the end of the day.
This is very disturbing, because if you watch the video of the acting MD of the Agri-Bank that was released, where he was sandwiched by 4 armed men, you know, and they were saying what they said. If you have a relative as one of those being held in captivity, you shiver down your spine. It looks to me as if the government is at this wit's end. It doesn't know what to do again. Because we've always lamented, you know, about, you know, what should be done. And if you listen to El-Rufai, you ask yourself, what have we failed to do? Because the man mentioned that there are intelligence available to show you where these people are. There is intelligence available to reveal their discussions being intercepted by the relevant security agencies. Then you ask yourself, why is it that with this intelligence available, that our security agencies have not been able to do what is expected of them to do? It's something that is, you know, petrifying.
In some other parts of the world, by now you see pictures, you see identity, you see age, you see the location, you see date of birth, everything, data, everybody. So the pictures will all be around television because you know the number of people are on board. This is a big shame on the Nigerian Railway Corporation that it can be running this kind of shoddy services, and even their staff can even be doing this backdoor selling of tickets. Now we're at a crossroads. We can't account for people.
Yes, because nobody can say with finality that what this man said is the gospel truth. You know,
who was counting?
Well, that was the question to us. Did he do a head count inside the place? You know, and people have complained in the past that, look, there was a lot of corruption regarding ticket sales in NRC, but in Nigeria, those issues are raised, people will not talk.
They
will not even raise any highbrow. They will not address it, as if it's an opportunity for some people to simply feed off the rest of us. Now, people, tickets, you give the impression that they've run out of tickets, but they've actually hoarded.
Majority of it.
Yes, they've hoarded some seats to now sell at an inflated rate to other people, because they know that people are desperate. They don't want to travel by road.
Yes.
Nobody wants to go by road. Even generals will enter train, their convoys will go and wait for them at the
other side of
the train stamina. That's what is happening. All categories of people is that train that everybody is entering. And that was why we knew that at some point those boys would target the trains, because we didn't really provide security. You can see how naive we are in terms of security. We didn't think that, look, this threat, despite the fact they had fired at that train at least twice and destroyed rail tracks before, we still didn't think that we should take some actions that will protect our people. So now look at what has happened. These guys have now stormed the train, took our people away. No one knows exactly where our people are. In
and
one of the stories,
they're on their own.
Yes.
No,
they are in a position of strength. Once they are able to take people away, they are in a position of strength. You cannot mount an operation to rescue people. No. The only thing you can hope for is that some people will walk away, sneak away to their own freedom. When you hear people rescued, it's a lie. How do you rescue 1 or 2 persons when there are still dozens? How did you manage to pull that off? America, the mistakes of America and Iran have shown us that, look, when terrorists kidnap people, abduct people in large numbers, you have to be patient. To launch an operation to rescue those people is extremely risky. You end up losing so many of them. America learned that lesson. So now, what do you do once those boys have taken them to their location? Your airplane will be looking at people down there. Your reconnaissance aircraft, they will look, but you cannot do anything.
You can't bomb people, they would have used.
What will you do? Will you bomb innocent people? So that is the thing. We shouldn't have allowed it to happen in the first place. Now, they managed to rescue a man from multiple sources. Multiple sources. They found that those guys lied that they released somebody because of age and all that. But multiple sources are saying that there were other reasons, you know, that we don't want to go into here. We know them now, they are not human beings. We are dealing with people who are not human beings. So
are they that rational?
People who are kidnapping and killing people during the holy month of Ramadan, you now imagine them to be sensible people who will now look at somebody who is old.
And is that man old?
How old is he, by the way?
Is that the first old man they've
how old? People who kidnapped a whole emir. Emir from Zamfara. Kept him with them. They were harassing him until ransom in excess of 35 million was paid. So are they the people who now see somebody, oh, this person is old, let us allow him to go? No, they are not human beings. They don't have any religion. Even Shegumi said it that, look, they don't even know the religion. So for people like him, he wants to preach to them so that they will even have some level of knowledge of religion. You see somebody bearing Muslim name, you assume that he's a Muslim. Nothing makes him Muslim apart from that his name.
And they'll be holding on to the
some
Quran.
of them are animists. Name of those guys, those bandits that you see, they're animists. They subscribe to Islamic religion. They don't subscribe to Christianity. So to see them and think that these are human beings or decent human beings is to deceive yourself.
Or people that want to enforce a religion. It's nothing like that.
As I've said before, that the people thought, because Nigerians are extremely gullible people, people said, we don't even know their demands yet. They said government knows their demands. Then we don't know. This is a terrorist group. We don't know what their demands are. Their demand is money.
Gosh.
Time is a gentleman. Time will prove to us clearly that it is money that they
have. Know what
don't deceive yourselves. They are not making any political demand. It's money. And do you know that
it's not born out of ideology?
Ayo, I have, on the day of my birthday, that was the day that they carried out this glorious operation, there was a guy who was calling me from Kaduna whose mother was on the train. Yesterday, when I look at the video, I saw the mother and the sister. These guys, contrary to what Nigerians thought, they are already negotiating with families of these people, asking for money, even asking for money in foreign currency. So we sit there and imagine, oh, they are terrorists, they are going to make political demands. When? If you expect that those guys will make political demands because they claim that government knows what they want. Government knows that it's money that they're after, and government is no longer ready to be giving them money. What they are thinking is that if government gets involved, their money will be higher. This is how they think. People must understand the psychology and the madness that drives the efforts of these guys. They is just doing it purely for the money, nothing else.
All right. There's no doubt about the fact that the impact of the rising insecurity in Nigeria is far-reaching. The president of the Christian Association of Nigerian, CAN, Reverend Shukwu Ayokunle, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Abubakar III, as well as other elder statesmen, have raised the alarm that insecurity may hamper the 2023 elections. At the Security Dialogue Retreat jointly organized by the Global Peace Foundation and the Vision Africa in Abuja, they said there might not be election in 2023 if the current spate of insecurity in the country is not checked. This is as over 80 persons reportedly killed in an attack by bandits on 7 Kanem communities in Kanem local government area of Plateau States have been given mass burial in various villages. Here is the story.
Plateau State is yet again in a mood of mourning and uncertainty with the attacks and abductions now on the rise across the state. Now, hardly a day goes by without reports of violence springing up in one part of the state or the other. The latest is the death of 70 locals and mostly farmers in 4 villages of Kanam Council area following attacks by bandits. Some eyewitnesses who pleaded for anonymity told us over a phone conversation that the gunmen came in large numbers, 3 each on a motorcycle, shooting people at close range without any provocation. Several locals were said to have been badly injured, with over 100 houses burned during the attacks which started in the afternoon. The state of insecurity in the country is worrying, to say the least, and the president of Evangelical Church Winning All, ECWA, is urging citizens to do more to defend themselves against all forms of violent attacks. He also calls on the government to do more in fulfilling their primary responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of all citizens.
The council encouraged its members and Nigerian citizens as a whole to exercise their fundamental right to self-defense as provided by Section 33 to subsection A of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in the face of attacks by these terrorists.
Some communities in Plateau State in recent times have suffered a series of attacks that have caused the loss of many lives. The leadership of Irigwe Development Association says it is tired of signing peace agreements with no positive result. Its reaction is coming barely 2 weeks after an attack unleashed in 2 of their communities that led to the death of 12 people in the area.
So I want to call on the authority, if they are truly concerned about the peace that they have been preaching, then they must wake up to their responsibility. We have been having several meetings, dialogues. But I want to tell you categorically that I'm tired with those kind of meetings. Those meetings, as far as I'm concerned, they are just meetings that doesn't have any results.
I'm Joshua, TVC News, Jos.
All right, welcome back. It's still journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you live from our headquarters, TVC News in Lagos, Nigeria. I see Babajide Kolade Titoju and Chiawula Mokin Wako with me. Jide, now we are counting down to the 2023 election, whether you like it or not. Whether we like it or not, this is May. This is April. And if we are projected that the election will be holding March next year, so you can look at the proximity and look at the state of insecurity across the country. If we are saying that in Plateau States, how many people did you say?
No, according to the BBC, 135. 135. That's,
In one day?
yes, in one community. And okay, let's say a few communities in the local government. So these are villages. Just over around those villages, abducted more than 70 people. You still wasted people's lives.
135.
Yes, that's what the BBC is saying. And the shame of it all is that it's even hardly reported. I once said it that, look, we have lost the capacity to get shocked in our country. Nothing shocks us anymore. So if that number of people get killed, back in the day when we were tabloid editors, Chiawu and myself, you will be looking at 120 points banner headline on front page.
As in for this kind of
Yes,
135.
the biggest, you'll be looking for probably the biggest headline you can find. You'll be going, if you can get to 180 points, you'll do it. Or put RLB, reverse, so that maybe the white, when the headline is white like that, with black background, it will,
catchy.
yeah, it will naturally push it out, and people will see, people will buy. Today, did you see it? Did you see it as banner headline in
It
any
doesn't make
paper?
any
No,
news.
Yes.
no.
So-
Don't sell your paper.
Doesn't
So-
make any
Because it's
news.
the natural,
As if
it's
we are
the common
animals.
thing.
Yes.
I've said it before that I don't know any country. I challenge anyone who knows any country where people get killed the way we are killed in Nigeria to tell me. Not Syria, not Afghanistan, not any war-torn country where people are being killed like this in our country.
Even Senator Smart Adeyemi, I listened to one of his former old sound bites. He said it's not even the time of civil war. Did we have it?
No, it's just
this
too
bad?
much. And he was saying, telling his colleagues that maybe we should just shut down the National Assembly, let everybody go.
Because
He knows that he cannot go home just the way he likes.
in his own place.
As much as the governor of Kogi State is trying his best in the area of security, people are still being kidnapped. People are still being kidnapped. Every week, people are being kidnapped in that state. Along the road leading to my village, people are being kidnapped. Some of my village people have been victims. So it's not as if it's like the effort is there. But the people that we are dealing with, they are so determined. They see kidnapping people as a life and death affair. So they are not prepared to stop. It will take a mighty effort, especially where people know that they can take 100 million for a soul. It will take a mighty effort.
You won't get them, not even robbing a bank that can you be guaranteed of getting 100 million in their
Except I don't even know any other. Except which line of business can you do that will give you that kind of money? Which business? You can't go and grab oil block for yourself now. Which kind of business will you do that will give you that kind of money?
100 million naira in one operation.
Yes. 120 million. They will now tell you, okay, go to casino, go and drop the money. So it's just terrible. I don't know what else
So
you can do.
These religious leaders, they are concerned. The way people showed concern in 2014, leading to the 2015 general election, that no, this thing might disturb the election, and the national security advisor at that time actually dropped the snippet that, look, if things are still the same, were still the same as at that point in time, they shifted that election by 6 weeks. If you remember,
Yeah, they did.
they did, because leading to the election, the signs were not just good.
If you cast your mind back, bring the events of the past and just suppose them with what is happening now, you reach the same conclusion that these people reach. that the signs are very scary. The signs are very scary. We live in a country where life does no longer matter. Life does no longer matter. When this killing was done in Jos, what came to my mind first was the fact that another panel, should not be set up as they've always done in the past. Because I can count about 5 panels set up both by the federal government and the state government. The General Emmanuel Abisoye is the panel. The Nikki Toby, Justice Nikki Toby's panel. The one set up by the National Assembly. The one set up by the State Assembly of Plateau. And the state government. All these
recommendations
panels were set up, investigations were done, report, were written, but they were never implemented. They were never implemented.
Dust.
Up till now, they were not implemented. What does that tell you? By doing such reports for serial killings in the same place for decades, and they were not implemented, is a way of giving armor to those who have been the masterminds of these killings, that they should continue. That is what we have been seeing in Jos. Jos has become a big graveyard for victims of insecurity in Nigeria. You remember when Jonah Jan was governor, there was one killing that shocked him, that he had to call the other brigade commander or whatever in the state. The man, put off his phone. Put off his phone. So how can we continue to operate like this?
Even in Ukraine, where they are dropping USSR, the Soviet Union, they are dropping
Russia.
missile on a daily basis. When you calculate it, a total figure for when you want to look at it from the north to the south, the number, the quantum of people that we lose to insecurity every day. You just see some weekends and Monday morning you check the papers, you just see figures and you get to
all kinds of, even people being abducted and all that. I saw some very startling, some very demoralizing statistics of people abducted, people killed. It's just, look, we underrate the scale of the problem, the extent of this problem, and I pity the administration that is going to take over from President Buhari,
because you've been saying that
for 2 years. I've been saying that the biggest problem we face was insecurity. Those who have made a career out of putting spin on developments in our country, those who do not want the journalist to do his job, which is to highlight problems in our country and push for solutions, they will simply dismiss, oh, he has come with his trouble again. Don't mind him. That's how he behaves.
All is
the
well.
Confucianist, don't mind him. All it takes is for one of them to be victim. They will first run away from social media.
I have Stephen calling us from Jos, Plateau State.
Thank
you for joining us.
Gentlemen of the press.
Thank you.
My name is Walby Stephen. I'm calling from Jos.
Okay. What's really going on?
Yes, I want to salute you for your doggedness, especially GD and all the other people in the studio. I want to correct an erroneous impression by the other panelists, the one that spoke before Baba GD. This is not a fight in Jos. These are terrorists that attacked people, not people fighting. I think we need to get these things straight. just like any other state in Nigeria, has been under attack. And he should not go about saying that just people don't want to, that people are being killed and government is not doing anything. No. The issue is in Kanam local government, far away, close to other local governments that are joined natural states and then other Kaduna states and the rest. These are terrorists that attack people to kill them in their sleep and on their farms. And until something is done, there are reports that there are Boko Haram currently in Plateau State. Jos is very far from Kanam. I'm not saying that it cannot happen in Jos, but then we should put the record straight. This is an attack that should be condemned by all and sundry. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. So, when you aggregate it, look at it, and
when he said Jos, he was referring to Plateau generally, because there had been bigger killings.
Yeah, all this local
in Jos, not and Jos Township generally than even this in the past. You know, in the 90s, in the 2000s, you know, we had killings. So Jos was just metaphorically used, not necessarily that Chiawo was saying that Jos was where people were being killed.
Okay.
Just Plateau. Just when people say Jos Plateau, they are referring to that area.
The state.
So it's the state. So we know that it's in Kanam that they are killing people. We know that it's not within just metropolis, but we are concerned. We don't want these killings to continue. And look, as far as these leaders, these religious leaders are concerned, Mr. President knows how to appoint people, but he doesn't know how to sack them. I think that where people are found wanting, the president has a choice. And I believe that...
But he has not shown that kind of trait in the last 7 years.
We can.
So I don't see him starting today.
But that choice is there for him to exercise. That is the point that we are making. We know that it is not in his nature. He's slow at sacking people. He's slow at kicking people off their jobs. But there are moments when you need to do that, when you need to put the right people somewhere. If people suffer the consequences of inaction, when people get killed, of course they are going to sit up. You know that you lose your job.
And finally, there is no respite yet regarding the face-off between members of the Academic Staff Union of the University, ASU, and the federal government. The Abuja zone of ASU insisted that lecturers will not resume duties in public universities until renegotiation of 2009 agreement is signed, implemented, and the University Transparency and Accountability Solution, UTAS, is deployed for payment of salaries of university workers. Meanwhile, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, says government cannot meet up with all the demands of ASU. So, is ASU willing to shift ground? Let's share the story with you.
Government is slow on reacting to their various issues. They took time to talk about the fact that this document had been submitted to government since May last year, and up till now, government had not done anything about it. Government did promise that they were going to put together an interministerial committee, and that within a period of a fortnight, the interministerial committee was going to be in a position to sort out all the contents of the document. And that up till now, nothing.
We had the information that there were areas of disagreement as this was being compiled. Nothing wrong with that. It's a negotiation. You don't get everything 100%. But I told ASU and I told education, if you have areas of disagreement, put up your committee to go back. But before then, education has to, in-house, in their Department of Tertiary Education, and with the National University Commission, look at it.
Somehow, Judy, this academic staff union of university is their warning strike. They started with 4 weeks. They've extended it 4 months. And if nothing concrete is done, it will dovetail into an indefinite strike. At the end of the day, they might lose the whole of 2020, 2022. And we are counting we are counting the losses all around.
I think you had the man heading the committee that the government set up to renegotiate with ASU. You had him accusing government of being slow in responding to the demands of ASU, and he laid it bare before the minister. That's someone that the government appointed to say, okay, go and sit with these people. And it's indicting the government right with the minister sitting there. I mean, it says a lot.
The person that is meant to act on behalf of government.
Yes.
To help government to mediate.
And it was also really now figures. That's also time you are supposed to do this, you know. So what else? Again, it is possible that government cannot meet all of these demands. But these guys have said
show commitment.
2 demands. Renegotiate the 2009 agreement and let's have UTAS. Just 2. They are no longer even talking about the earlier 9-point demand and the rest. They are saying, okay, just 2. Is it impossible to simply implement those 2? If not, the Yorubas will say, if, let me even do Yoruba English now. If there is nothingness there, is it impossible? Just 2 demands. Somebody has been on the same salary since 2009, and you want him to be happy. How many people, some of those who are abusing us, how many of them have been on the same salary for that long?
2009.
It's a long time. With the vagaries of inflation and the rest.
Yes. From single digits to double digits.
Consistently on double digits. Consistently now on double digits. The last time we were on single digits was 2016.
2016.
Yes, we've been consistently on double digits now. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Address. Let these guys know the ones that you can address. Try to come to a kind of meeting point. Between the 2 groups, there must be flexibility. Otherwise, those children will just be suffering for nothing. I know that government is low on cash. Nobody needs to tell me that. But at least there are some conditions that you can meet. Come to the middle. That's the point. That is my own argument. This UTAS was past fit earlier on. Now, all this talk that, UTAS failed is political. It's political. ASU spent more than 30 million to design this UTAS. They use their money. You are now saying that UTAS is not. You told them to go and find an alternative to IPPIS. They came up with that. Yes. Now you are saying no, that they failed. That UTAS failed. Why did it take so long before Pantami came out to tell us that UTAS failed? Was it because ASU opposed his honorary professorship? Is that his own way of getting back at ASU? I mean, Nigerians can put 2 and 2 together. In the heat of this agitation, you didn't come out to say UTAS failed until they offended you. So this is your own way of
getting back.
Yes. I mean, it's just, they should think of the students.
It's as if we are not, as usual, serious about this sector. Making education a priority. Seeing the leaders of tomorrow, making sure you pay attention to the welfare. Instead, we have private universities thriving more than the government-funded universities.
Ayo, each time this issue comes up for discussion, either here or outside for public discussion. The government always takes the rap, and rightly so, because of the way it has mismanaged the system by proliferating the universities that we have. I mean, the number of universities, to the point that they can no longer fund them effectively. Everybody knows about that. But there are enough reasons to go around. Much has not been said about the role by the universities themselves in undermining what they want to, build. Take, for instance, recently, JAMB uncovered 1 million illegal admissions. They've already graduated 1 million.
Wow.
And that is why they cannot be mobilized as and when due for them to go to youth service. Imagine 1 million illegally admitted students in our university system.
Giving them admission from back door.
How it contributes in the decadence we have. Each time you have a slide on, students taking lectures here, if you look at them, you appear as if you are watching people on a political rally. But these are students
on the floor.
On the floor. These are part of the students for which these university lecturers are asking for end allowances. That is work, the extra work they did, for which they've not been paid. We now have a situation where we have vice chancellors who do not know exactly what the university system is supposed to be. Every university has minimum of students is supposed to admit to meet its carrying capacity. But they always exceed that. They always exceed that. And the consequence of it is that the system will be worse for it. And that is what we'll be having in Nigerian universities. In 2016, 150 courses were mounted without accreditation.
I have Uche calling us from Nnewi, Anambra State.
Yeah, good evening, Ayo.
Good evening, Uche. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Babajide.
Good evening, China.
Yeah, good evening, my brother.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. My name is Uche. I'm calling from Nnewi.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution, Uche.
I was trying to get you yesterday, but I could not, because somebody was telling us yesterday that that Soludo can stop this insecurity.
Yes.
But that is not true. That's not true, because just like Babajida said yesterday, that the people are not willing to come out, because the other Mecca was saying that if people come out, so the people are not willing to come out. So how will you force people to come out? They're not willing. So that is by the way anyway. So the issue of ASU. The other day, Babajide, if I'm mistaken, please correct me. The federal government got a loan and gave to another country. Is it $1 million or so? They collected a loan and gave it to another country. I mean, what are we talking about here? And you say you cannot solve ASU problem, and you went and collected a loan and gave to another country to solve their own problem. I mean, this is just it's just ridiculous. Solve this problem, and you cannot, because your children are not in this country schooling. The other day, our Minister of Education was annoyed because the students were asking him questions, and yet he child. We saw him on social media that he child graduated in the university overseas there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, even the Minister of Labour and Productivity, he said his children are affected by this ASU strike. I've seen one or two of his daughters graduating.
I don't even think that Ngige is a problem from the look of things.
At all.
I think the issue is highly funding. Ngige runs one of the poorest ministries that you can talk about.
Labour.
Which contract?
It's so little.
Yes. So I don't think is the problem. My own issue is if you get into an agreement with people, go ahead and implement. In December 2020, when they decided that they were going to call off the strike, there was a memorandum of action. You agreed. And all of those things that you agreed, not one of them you have implemented.
You agreed to
you said, okay,
the strike at that time?
You said, you said that Professor Musalin Jibril should go and interface with them. He interfaced, he turned in a report. You refused to implement, and that's Musalin that you appointed. So the issue is, government is a continuum. Somebody signed an agreement. You are bound to implement. And if you can't implement, they say, okay, as part of the what was agreed then, it needs to be renegotiated. What is difficult in renegotiating? And say, okay, based on the prevailing situation, this is what we can do. You don't even want to talk to them.
The Musalin agreement, as the Minister of Labour said, at this point is only a proposal because the two parties are yet to sign it. Both ASU and government have not signed that renegotiated agreement, which Musalin headed.
Because they do not want...
They were discussing over the matter. Then by February 14, ASU went on strike.
Do you know when Musalin submitted it?
I don't know.
For months, I've been talking about Musalin Jibrin's report here.
So, like you pointed out,
the man submitted the thing, not less than 4 months, 5 months. You didn't take action.
There.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Chia Wulamoke. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, really. I was in the East.
I think you himself. Thank you for always being there. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcasts of this episode tonight at 11 p.m. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.